I feel the reason why people are saying that the Carter Six is hot dog juice, they're saying it's garbage, is because of what it's being compared to. Now, if you've been listening to Lil Wayne like I have, you've seen him from his inception, when the early Cash Money days, all the way up until now. And what you've been accustomed to, or what you've been used to from Lil Wayne, quality raps, good punchlines, and he doesn't really go too deep into like social issues and stuff like that. But you finna get some good raps from Lil Wayne. But this project felt, like I said, it was more like an experimental trip for Wayne, and this is nothing new. Like, this is the same rapper that dropped the Rock album back in the day called Rebirth. Y'all remember that? Exactly. So Wayne isn't afraid to experiment. He's not afraid to try new things, to try new sounds. I think the reaction to the project was so visceral because, like I said earlier, people are used to the Carter. But man, when that Carter dropped, and shout out to my cousin, by the way, because my cousin actually caught me that record for my birthday, and I just remember like the rest of the day we was playing Halo and just listening to the Carter from front to back. Like, that shit go off, turn it right back on, and just run it back. Still, to this day, it's in my top 10. Like, I wouldn't put it anything lower. Like, the Carter one is in my top 10 hip hop albums of all time. One, because it was Wayne making a statement. It was Wayne saying, this is my style now. This is, like, I'm one of the best rappers in the game right now. And that's a big claim to have, because you got to think, at the time he's competing with T.I., Kanye, Jay-Z, all of these heavyweights in the game. You had Wayne coming out like fire at the time. So, when I look at tracks from the Carter one, like Birdman Jr., he says like, sleep in the field for trying to do it. I bust your head to the meat, turn your mind to food. That's food for thought. But think, I ain't lying to you. Our lies biting your sheets. Put come on. And then of course you go into the Carter 2. And I felt like the Carter 2 was more refined than the Carter 1 naturally. He's getting better with the rapping. The production was definitely on another level. And that's not to say that Manny Fresh didn't do his thing, because Manny Fresh a legend, and he held his own on the Carter 1. And to this day, it still slaps. But Carter 2, Wayne was kind of, branching out, working with different producers. He was working with the Runners from Miami. Of course, they gave him that crazy chart-topping single, Money on My Mind. I still play it. It's like the perfect gym song. And then you got songs like Hustler Music, where Wayne is just really kind of just getting more introspective. Now, a lot of people say the Carter 2 is better than the Carter 1. That's your opinion. For me, the Carter 1 has a lot of nostalgic memories, attached to it. But the Carter 2, like you said, is just a more refined version of the Carter 1. And it had its hit records. Then, of course, you go into the Carter 3, which was, what, 1 million sold in a week? When the last time we seen something like that from a hip-hop artist? This man came out and sold 1 million records in a week. You don't see that too often. So that was a special moment. And then, of course, all of the songs that came from that. A Millie, Get Money with T-Pain. He even had records like Tie My Hands with Robin Thicke, where he was a more introspective Wayne. He had some production on there from David Banner. Just it seemed like the whole hip hop was behind Wayne at the time, and they just really embraced him because of the run he was on. And of course, I had to skip over the Drought 3 series, because we're talking about the Carter here, but the Drought 3 played an important part in the entire Carter 3 rollout. So the Drought 3 was very important. And I can still, to this day, recite every word front to back from that mixtape, because that's all we played in college, right? So you get to the Carter 4. This is the era of, Drake is kind of in the scene now. So, and I feel like at that point, when the Carter 4 dropped, that was kind of the last good Carter album that we got from Lil Wayne. Now, of course, the beef happened with him and Birdman, delayed the Carter 5. They ended up releasing it years later. I didn't like the Carter 5. And I remember telling somebody at the time about the Carter 5. It just sounded dated. It sounded like he held on to these songs for too long. They didn't really fit what was going on at this time. So I really didn't really listen to the Carter 5. I really didn't embrace it. And then here we are today with the Carter 6. And it's kind of suffering the same type of fate that the Carter 5 suffered, which is it doesn't feel like those first 4, especially not the first 3. The first 3 are flawless. Like, Wayne gonna always be etched in stone in hip hop when it comes to just rapping, because those first 3 albums are just, they hold their own weight. But we're trying to compare it to an era where Wayne was a different rapper. You know what I mean? You gotta understand, like around that time, Wayne was rapping out of his mind. Wayne's gonna grow how he wanna grow. He's gonna make the music he wanna make, and that's just something you gotta respect about artists and musicians. Everybody's not gonna like it, but I'm pretty sure when he played it back, when he listened to it, I'm pretty sure he liked it. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. Tomato, tomato. You feel me? Like some people like it, some people ain't. I didn't like all of it, but I see some people online saying it's dope. I think the problem lies is when we try to compare it to what it is. Now, granted, he called it the Carter 6. Maybe he should have called it something else. Maybe he should have called it Sorry for the Wait 2 or 3, or you know what I'm saying? Maybe he should have turned it into a mixtape. I don't know, right? But I saw what he was trying to go with this Carter 6 project. More commercial project, He had a song with, like I said, the Bono record. It was on the commercial for the NBA Finals. So, like, I see what you're doing, Wayne. Like, I see what you're doing. Like, get your money, step into that next era of, becoming that legacy artist. I get it. That's what you're supposed to do. But man, it's really hard to listen to that and say this is a part of the Carter series, right? Because it holds so much weight. Wayne was rapping like a maniac those years. And a lot of y'all too young to even really understand just how big that moment was back then. But Wayne back then, when he said he was the greatest rapper alive, you believed it. You knew it. When Wayne rapped on your beat back in the day, that was his beat. Like, you didn't own the beat anymore. Like, you don't understand that. When Wayne would get your instrumental to your track, rap over it, and it was no longer yours because people would just start singing the Wayne version. I can't tell you how many songs I do that with. Swag Surfing, I always think of the Wayne verse. Throw It in the Bag freestyle, the Wayne verse. So, like, he's always held his own with the raps. I just feel like people felt let down because it's like, when you say the Carter, okay, we expecting something. And granted, the Carter 5, I let that slide because the whole, him and Birdman going through their legal issues or whatever, so that held it up, which made the record sound dated. But when you were introduced to Carter 6 and it still is not, it's like people are gonna react like that. And naturally, the only reason people are reacting like that because he's a great artist. We grew up with him and we love his music. Now, if nobody didn't care and he dropped it, then nobody would even be caring. But people in an uproar because they do care, But I don't think it's bad nor good. Like I said, I like a couple tracks from it. But in my opinion, I just don't think it can hold that Carter name. You get what I'm saying? Maybe under another name, that project works a lot better. But when you say the Carter, I don't know, man. Maybe we need to get Manny Fresh back in there with him and just let Manny just do the whole tape. Because like you said, the Carter 1 is etched top 10 in my all-time greatest hip-hop albums of all time. Nostalgia aside, even though, every time I listen to the Carter, it reminds me of playing Halo. But yeah, man, it's the kid Ríez. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all be safe, stay carefree, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.